All right, we are live. My name is Michael Roth, and I am the storyteller here at Kiepersol. I'm behind the bar here at the Grand Room at Kiepersol, and I'm going to be wearing my mask today because, well, we have our Infusionist Emily here. We're also going to be joining Emily, who is going to be helping us make some orange homemade citrus sugar. Which is going to be really exciting. So here I've got Emily here, our infusionist.
Hi, Emily. Hello.
We'll be letting her make a cocktail here in a little bit. In fact, we've already pre-made
Oh, wow.
a cocktail. It's kind of a variation off of a dessert cocktail that we serve here at Kiepersol, and should pair really well with whatever you're making. So
Okay.
we're really excited.
Good. Well, I'm glad to be here. We've had a fun, this is our 4th week together. Of course, this is the first time I've worked with you.
Yeah, of course.
But 4th week, and so what we've really worked on doing, Marnell and I, with our vision was just to give a couple simple recipes that people could add to their repertoire of what they make and they prepare and compare it with what you all have on your side of things. And so one of the things that I love making is citrus or orange sugar or lemon sugar or lime sugar or whatever. I have an extra amount of citrus sitting around.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to show you how I do that. And then after you guys show your, or maybe before, we'll just see, I want to show you a way to use it. So I usually, if let's say if oranges are in season and they're a really good price, I may be eating oranges all the time, but I'm throwing away those skins and peels or whatever.
Yeah.
And a few years ago it hit me, there's so much flavor in that peel. I don't eat the peel, but I can use the zest from the peel, and I may not be needing it right away, but I'd like to have it on hand for something in the future. And so I started combining orange zest with sugar, because sugar is a natural dehydrating agent, similar to salt, except it's sweet, obviously.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
And so anytime I was about to throw away an orange peel or a grapefruit peel or whatever it was, I would just go ahead and zest it first, and then I would combine it with sugar and allow it to dehydrate and then store it until I was going to use it again. So let me just show you how easy it is. What makes it really easy is to have a zester or microplane. Yeah. So we're twins.
Right.
And like I said, I do this for all of my lemons. I do it for all my oranges, blood orange. I found that a mandarin orange has, each type of citrus has kind of a different undertone.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
A mandarin has a real peppery note, so it's actually good for more savory than for sweet additions. So that one I wouldn't necessarily combine with sugar. I may just freeze it as is and sprinkle it in maybe like a stir-fry orange chicken or something like that. But it just takes a couple seconds. I recommend zesting before you peel it, just because you can, I teach a lot of cooking classes, and I tell people this is a knife. You can injure yourself. It's
Absolutely.
not impossible. So I recommend doing that first. And then, so I've got all my zest from that orange just right here. I zest with the open side up and collect all that. And then I'll just get it and I'll kind of gently tap it and scrape out that bit and collect it in a bowl. And I already had 1 orange's worth of zest. So as a rule of thumb for zest, you can typically get 1 tablespoon per medium orange.
Okay.
And what I like to do, it just depends on your taste and what you're going to be using it for, but I like to do between 1/2 and 3/4 of a cup of sugar per tablespoon of orange zest. So we're going to go ahead and add about a cup and a half to this right now.
Okay.
And I know you guys made this. We talked about it. Was it pretty easy for you to make?
Yeah. So we have ours here. I know we're a little bit ahead of everybody else, but we've got ours here. Sorry, it's a little oversaturated here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And so Mike, tell me, what's the consistency of that right now? Is it starting to crisp up on top?
Yeah. It's a little hard, a little
Yeah,
crispy.
isn't
Yeah.
that interesting how quick it starts to happen?
Yeah. No, that's really cool. It's pretty neat. It's very flavorful too.
Yeah, and the smell is so good. So while we were talking, I just added a cup and a half of sugar.
Okay.
And I have a little small bowl I was collecting. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to a bigger bowl so I don't make a mess. And what you can see at the bottom is all those, I don't know if you can see it on this lighting, but all the essential oils of those that are trapped in that orange peel, that orange zest, start to release in that zest. And I'm just going to give it a little stir, and I'm going to keep stirring it until the clumps of zest are separated and uniformly combined throughout the sugar. And that just takes a minute or two. If you want, I've done this both ways. If I'm doing something and I happen to have the oven on a low temperature,
Okay.
I will throw it into a baking pan like this one.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'll just put it in the oven on a real low temperature, like 250 for 5 minutes to help release the moisture from the orange zest and dehydrate that quicker. You don't have to at all. But what we know is the water will evaporate, but the oils will stay. Oil doesn't evaporate. So that's a handy way to kind of speed up the process if you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
And Mike, like you said, yours is kind of clumping. Mm-hmm. So you have two choices there. Mine clumped. You can use it as it is, except I think for your use a little bit later, clumping is difficult to be as a garnish for that drink. So
yeah, potentially.
You can just get your muddler and, take out some of your aggressions
yeah.
on like this, or you can just throw it into, yes. Yeah, or you can just throw it into your food processor or blender and get it knocked together real fine. So those are the two choices.
Okay.
So I'm just going to keep doing this for a second. And the smell is crazy good. And we're just about to enter into full-blown orange season. That's the nice thing about oranges. They are now available all year. But as we get into the fall, the freshest oranges come back in. Those really yummy Florida oranges come back into season. And so a little tip is the darker the orange, like this one, like yours, the more flavor is in that. So if you have a blonde orange, it's going to be a little bit more mild in those essential oils. So when I'm at the grocery store, I'm always looking for the darkest ones. And the second tip is, generally, grocery stores or the processors of citrus fruit and fruit spray a little bit of wax over your fruit to kind of help, I think, preserve it and also to make it a little bit more attractive on the shelf.
Right.
And so when you get your orange, just go ahead and run it under hot water and give it a good rubbing to get that wax off, because you don't want, if we're collecting the zest, we don't want all the outside contaminants. So,
right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So obviously we're making a sugar. In cooking, what are some of the applications that you like to use this little recipe for?
So one of the things I like to do is just save it in a little jar by the side of my stove and maybe use it as if I'm serving tea, hot tea or iced tea. So it's a nice flavor.
Yeah.
You can add it to a little bit of cream and make a chocolate ganache with it, melting dark chocolate and warm cream and that flavor. You can also toss it, roll it in sugar cookie dough. So if you're making sugar cookies, instead of rolling it in normal, plain, unflavored sugar, roll it in that orange sugar.
Yeah.
You can even take it a step further, and in all baking, where sugar is called for in the recipe, you can go ahead and just sub your orange sugar. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm subbing orange sugar in making a homemade brownie recipe.
Awesome.
So do you want to give me your drink?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll go ahead and move this so that Emily can come in and she'll take over and talk about our cocktails. And this here's our Infusionist. And so basically Emily helps create all of our cocktails. She is the mastermind behind taking some of our spirits, specifically vodka in most cases, but our other spirits, and we do infusions, which allow us to make all of our own liqueurs. So if you ever come to Kiepersol, you get the unique experience that not only are we a vineyard and a winery, you also get to try everything, all of our own spirits here, as well as all of our own liqueurs. So everything that goes into our cocktails here at Kiepersol are made right here by Emily, which is amazing. So we're able to do everything in-house. We try to source as much as we possibly can, of course, in Texas, here locally as possible, from local farmers. And then, of course, we go out from there. But for the most part, I'm going to just go ahead and let Emily take over, and she'll kind of explain a little bit more about what's going on here.
Great.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So we actually have a drink that we make here as a dessert. We call it the Nino Viejo, which is basically candy for adults. It is a tequila, chocolate, and orange martini. So I decided that since you were going to be doing a chocolate and orange brownie, that we would kind of modify it a little bit. So this is for all of our coffee drinkers. I love coffee. I'm super obsessed with coffee. And we took the orange sugar that you made, and we're going to rim our martini with it.
Oh, great.
So I'm going to be making, it's going to have a tequila, coffee liqueur, coffee, orange liqueur, salt, and orange bitters all together. We're going to put it in a martini and rim it with the sugar.
Okay.
So first, we're going to take an orange slice, and I'm just going to put it around the edge of the martini. You really want to get it nice and wet with the orange juice on it, so that way the sugar will stick to it. So then I'm going to put it in the
Lift it up a little, just like
orange sugar.
Oh my
with, like,
goodness.
a nice little rim. And then I'm going to start building the cocktail. So I have a cream. I like to use chocolate and almond coffee cream. That's just my guilty pleasure. So that's what I'm going to be using today. You're going to put about 2 ounces of the cream in your cocktail. You're going to do 1 ounce of a tequila, half an ounce of orange liqueur, and then half an ounce of a coffee liqueur, and then I do about 3 dashes of orange bitters, a pinch of salt. So I've always been told that for a pinch, you just put a little bit in the palm of your hand, and when it looks like enough, just sprinkle it over the top. And can't forget the coffee. I'm going to do 2 ounces of coffee. It can either be cold or hot. The ice is going to melt it down a little bit anyways. And then we're just going to shake it. And strain it into our glass.
Oh my goodness.
And you can garnish it with an orange wedge or just the peel. It already has the orange sugar on it, so you really don't need a garnish, but it just kind of adds a little bit of flair.
I love it. When you held that close, I could see the little flecks of orange zest in the rim.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely delicious. Really pairs well, just because this cocktail is very bitter.
Yeah.
Without the sugar, so obviously the sugar rim really just enhances it completely. So really, really cool.
The
Well, that's
salt
awesome.
and the bitters kind of counteract any sweetness, so it's not overly bitter by itself. You're going to get more of the coffee bitterness, but then when you add the sugar and orange, you pick up different flavors. And a lot of people don't think about pairing orange with chocolate or orange with coffee, but it goes so well. It's one of those fruits that you can pretty much do anything with, and a lot of people don't give it the credit it deserves. So I'm really glad that we were able to do the orange sugar, and I hope that we'll be using a lot more of that here.
Well, good, wonderful. You know, I'm one that if I can throw it away or figure out a second way to use something, I'm always looking for how to get the most out of what I've got on hand, or spent or raised or grown or whatever it is. And I just love, basically what you made is exactly my ingredients in a drink. So that's a lot of
awesome.
fun. So I'm going to show you how to take the sugar that we've made and turn it into a brownie. And what you're going to do is you're going to start off, and this recipe will be posted. I'll tag Kiepersol in it. That's what we do every week. So you just keep looking in their Instagram feed, and you'll end up finding the links to find this. So
and your website's foodforayear.com, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, foodforayear.com, and that's directly linked through my Instagram. So so I've got melted butter. That's the fat for these brownies, and I've got a for this time I'm using dry cocoa powder, but you absolutely can use a melted chocolate in place of dry cocoa powder. But to reconstitute that cocoa powder, what I'm doing is adding melted that cocoa powder to melted butter.
Ooh,
I'm just going to allow the oils in that dry product to release, and that's a little trick in baking, is we want to try to allow for our ingredients to incorporate and release as much flavor as possible in order to get maximum flavor. And that's what we want in a brownie. So I've got that cocoa powder and butter combined, and to that we're going to add 1.5 cups of our specially prepared orange sugar. So I'm just going to get that real quick. I'm going to start with what we already just made. Actually, I just measured this out before, so we're going to use this. This is 1.5 cups of orange sugar.
Yeah.
And when you're making brownies, there's just a couple of ingredients, so the order you add them in is really important in order to get your that chewy, gooey, moist brownie texture. So I recommend starting in the order of melted butter, cocoa powder, and then that sugar. And you get that sugar totally incorporated. Just give it a good whisk. Everything with a brownie is easy to do by hand. You don't need to put it in a mixer. So you can see that's all disappeared into there. And then what you're going to do next is just add 2 eggs. This recipe calls for 2 eggs. So I'm going to do it one at a time just to make sure I'm got good eggs. And no exciting finds in our eggs today. So that's good. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give that a good mixing to get those eggs broken up and incorporated. And Emily, I really like how you added coffee to your drink, and that's a little trick in brownies. So if you like a really strong chocolate flavor, or you like that combination of mocha, the coffee chocolate flavor, go ahead and just add like 2 tablespoons of a really concentrated coffee at this point. We're sticking with the short list of ingredients today. So I've got my eggs fully disappeared into this mixture. And then the last thing, the last 2 things we're going to add is to pull out those chocolate notes and the just accent that orange in a real pretty way. We're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla bean paste.
Okay.
We don't want vanilla to be the primary flavor, but as you guys know, it's a really good background note, especially with chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got that in there. And then the last ingredient is just a little bit of flour. And this is where a little bit of technique comes into play, because once we add the flour, the gluten strands start to form. Okay. And the more gluten in a brownie, the more cake-like and dense it becomes.
Yeah.
And so if you like that texture in a brownie, just give it a really good stir until you don't see flour anymore.
Yeah.
But if you're like me and like a kind of a gooey, chewy, melty brownie, then you want to be as gentle as possible at this point. So I have a little bit of salt for the same reason you guys do, to pull out all those flavors, and my flour. And I'm just going to do some figure 8s, getting this incorporated, and then do some, let's see, can you see? Yeah, you can see me better like this. Figure 8s to kind of get everything incorporated, then a couple of all around the bowl and some flipping. And it just takes about 30 seconds to where you can see what you're looking for is to see more brownie batter than flour. And when that has happened, you want to stop. So as you can see, I still see a lot of loose flour. And so I'm just going to keep working on that just for a second. But all of a sudden, I see more brownie batter than flour.
Right.
Now, if you have OCD, you may be tempted to make this go away. But we're going to stop right here because by the time we take this and we put it in our baking pan and then spread it out, we're going to have made all those little extra bits disappear. And so my baking pan is lined with parchment paper, and I've got some metal clips on the side to hold that down.
Look at that. Yeah.
And that just helps from it folding over in the oven on itself. And I'm dumping it out, and then I'm going to add one more little thing just to the top to help it look pretty for my pictures. And that is some really big, just a little bit of really big chocolate chips. I like these that are about the size of a dime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're just going to give it a gentle spread. And so as I'm spreading it, you can see that those little bits of extra flour are starting to disappear. And you actually don't need to even smear it all the way in to the corners because the heat of the oven is going to help you get that evenly spread. And then I'm just going to do a little drizzle of those and then help them along by giving them a little, for pretty picture purposes. That's what a food blogger is always interested in. Well, that, and I have 4 kids, and one would complain that one has more chocolate on theirs than the other.
Of course.
So it's a dual purpose.
Right.
So that goes in the oven, and let me show you. This is the finished product.
Okay.
And I have one plated already for you. So
yeah, awesome.
The way that the measurements of this pan are is this brownie's about maybe half an inch thick. But if you want to use a smaller pan, I have one that's like I think it's a 9 by 7. This is a 10 by 6 or a 10 by 8. But the smaller the pan you use, I'm not saying anything that you all don't already know. I'm just saying the smaller the pan, the thicker the brownie. You increase the baking time, and so it's just your personal preference. Do you like a little thin brownie? Do you like a thick brownie? And this recipe is versatile for whatever pan size you have on hand.
I see. Awesome.
Great. It looks wonderful.
So this is it, and I wish I could share it with you right now.
Right? Yeah, we do too. I'm sure it'd pair really well, like I said, with this delicious cocktail.
Yes.
Dessert cocktail. So for sure, it would be an amazing match. Just because that sugar, just it really does get a lot of that zest, it gets a lot of that orange characteristic, which, like Emily said, I think it's a new technique that we weren't really thinking of or knew about, and I think it's something that we may incorporate with some of our cocktails, which is just an amazing thought. So.
Well, good. Well, in lime, you know, I don't need to tell you what to do with lime.
Well, we have a lemon drop martini in the at the restaurant or at here as well, but yeah, we could easily do the same thing with lemon and be amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to give ideas. So.
Yeah, we appreciate it for sure. Well, tell everybody a little bit more about who you are and kind of what they can expect if they go to foodforayear.com or to your social media pages.
Sure. So I have been writing recipes and blogging for going on. I'm thinking in my head. I think when I look and I'm looking in my filing cabinet in my mind to try to remember, but for 7 years. And I actually started in the food blogging world because I competed in the Pillsbury Bake Off back in 2010. And when I did that, I just met a lot of people. I had a lot of opportunities. I was interviewed and was published in a couple different publications. And so when all of that happened, that world just kind of took on a life of its own within my life. People wanted my recipes. They wanted me to teach them classes. And so it was just a natural transition for me to open my website, Food for a Year. And people ask me, what does Food for a Year mean? Thinking, am I showing you how to store enough food so that if the apocalypse came, you
Yeah,
could
yeah, you're a doomsday
survive
prepper.
for a year? And no, I don't have those tips, although I have some good recipes that you can use if that happens. But my perspective, my point of view is that, the food that we encounter and eat in our lives is representative of the seasons of the year, spring and summer and winter and fall. We eat different things depending upon what time of year it is. And I know that's obvious to many people, but there's a whole other aspect of our lives that we have seasons in. When I started writing, I had 4 little kids. The oldest was still in elementary school. And here, 7 years later, break my heart, my oldest son is graduating from high school this year.
Wow.
And all of those different things go into how we eat. When they were little, their palates were different, and I catered to that. And so my blog really documents what life has been like in my home. But at the same time, every season has a memory for me. I'm making memories for my kids, but they also have memories that my mom and my dad and other family members made with me. So my blog also shares some of those memories of what was special. And in fact, this brownie recipe that I'm sharing today, my mom won a blue ribbon for.
Oh, wow.
When
awesome.
she was about 14 years old. So not with the orange sugar, this is a twist, but we just pass down those things. Food is such an interesting thing, just the same as drink, that you taste it and you have a memory that comes back to you, or you make a memory with it. And so that's really the heart of my my blog. I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's what you're going to get at Food for a Year is not only some simple stuff that keeps your family around the dinner table, but helps to make memories and special moments when it can be really difficult to do that with all the things going on around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're just so grateful to have teamed up with you over the last 4 weeks on Instagram Live.
Yes.
And of course, next week, well, before I talk about next week, I want to just, for the people that are maybe followers of Food for a Year, that you guys are joining us here at Kiepersol as well. And here at Kiepersol, if you don't know, we're right here in the heart of East Texas, right in the Piney Woods Forest, and we have a vineyard of all things. About 20 years ago, nobody was growing grapes in East Texas, and we decided to give it a try and start making wine out of it. And so we did, and we're now in our 21st harvest. We're just about to finish here, right in the vineyard, which has been an amazing journey. We have a restaurant, we have a bed and breakfast, we have a winery and distillery tasting room, which is where we're at right now. It's called the Grand Room. We're currently not available for, we're considered a bar here in the state of Texas, so we are currently shut down for tasting specifically. We're still open. You can come in, you can buy bottles, of course, but then, of course, if you want to try some of our wines here, you can go down to the restaurant, which is really cool. We are working on some solutions here up at the restaurant, or up at the Grand Room that we could potentially reopen up here in the next couple weeks. We'll see. No promises at this time, but we're definitely working fervently for that, which is really exciting. But anyways, we had the opportunity to meet Emily as she came through a tour, and
Yes.
Next week we're actually going to be doing a Zoom call with Emily for learning how to make 3 meals. Can you talk a little bit about what those 3 courses look like, and how maybe some of the materials that we might need to go shopping for to get that?
Yes. So do I get to tell the most exciting part, or are you?
Do we want to make that a surprise, or do we want it to?
Okay.
Yeah, well, let's just tell them. Let's tell them.
I'll let you decide how that's going to go.
Okay.
I'll talk food, you talk details. How's that?
Okay, awesome.
I can't read your face expressions.
I know.
Okay, so I was thinking through when I came up with the meal that I'm going to show you guys how to prepare next week. I was thinking through what are some things that you can prepare in one setting that aren't going to take, overnight or resting or all of those things, but at the same time give you some building blocks to where you can make that recipe your own as you become familiar and comfortable with these basic things. So we're going to start off with making chicken in a tomato sauce. There's a fancy Italian name for that. It's real pretty. Pollo in Ticcio or something like that. I can't see the name in my mind, but chicken in sauce.
Okay.
And we're going to highlight a really yummy Kiepersol wine to help us really add some flavor to that tomato sauce. And we're going to start off by sauteing the chicken thighs. That's the star of that recipe, is bone-in, skin-on chicken thighs with tomato sauce. We're going to start off by giving that a good sear, get the skin real crisp, and then we're going to start layering some flavors on that. And while all of that's happening, I looked around at what's going on in seasons, because that's what Food for a Year does. We look at the seasons, and I have some yummy tender green beans, and the beets are so beautiful right now. So we're going to create a twist on a normal leafy green salad by using beets and green beans. And Kiepersol has introduced me to a local honey farm. I'm sure they produce other things besides honey, but Elsner's farm.
Elsner Farm. Yep.
And I have some of their honey, and we're going to make a yummy vinaigrette, a honey vinaigrette that's going to go with
that. Sounds really good.
And for dessert, I wanted to highlight again Kiepersol's wine and show how we could create a really yummy, simple dessert with just a few short list of ingredients, and get some really good vanilla ice cream. So that's Fresh by Brookshire's is where we're going to be pointing people to pick up a grocery.
Yeah.
We've supplied a grocery list. You can go there, or if you're not local, certainly your local grocery store will sustain you. But we're going to use a sweet red wine from Kiepersol and some raspberries and blackberries to create a yummy syrup to put over some ice cream.
Yeah, absolutely. And so basically there's going to be two ways for people to get in on that Zoom call and cook alongside with us and learn and ask questions of Emily. The first is you can go to the event on our Facebook page, and it'll take you straight to our website, and you can, for $10, you can buy in. Or what we're really wanting to do is really just encourage you to get your family together, get your friends together, go buy all of these groceries that you're going to need, and then go home and send us a picture of the receipt from your locally owned grocery shop or local farmers, whatever that looks like. And we want to give you a ticket if you're willing to go buy all of the ingredients anyway. So there's two ways to get involved in that. And so please provide that. Email us. All the details are in the events page. Also, when I repost this video on Instagram and Facebook, I'll either put it in the comments or it'll be in our bio on Instagram. So feel free to sign up. It's coming up this next week. It's August 19th, next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So if you guys are in California or New York, we're not biased in any way. Just buy all the groceries or pay that $10 fee. We'll give you a Zoom invite via email. So you'll just need to provide your email to us, and we'd be more than happy to get you involved and sign up for that. So with that said, is there anything else that we're leaving out, Emily, that you can think of?
I think I just want to encourage people to take advantage of the opportunity. Kiepersol has been so kind and gracious to allow me to work with them, and what we're really trying to provide is an opportunity just to engage with you in a time of a season of life when it's really been hard to engage with each other. And I know we're going to be working together in such a way that you guys can ask questions, and I don't know everything about everything, but I certainly would love to try to help guide you through what it is that we're going to be working on. And by the end of those 90 minutes, you'll have 3 yummy courses. I'm sure you'll have some leftovers, and you'll have learned how to make a foundational recipe that is easy to turn into something that reflects what you're going through or what your taste buds love the most. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so just to kind of give people an idea, when they're going to go buy all these groceries, and if they decide to join us and make these meals with us, about how many people do you think it can feed on what we're going to be making?
So this is intended to be a 4-serving meal. The entire thing is a family of 4 or 2 hearty portions. I'm considering 1 chicken thigh per person and a serving of the salad, and then ice creams, a couple scoops of ice cream. So
awesome.
I did practice this recipe. I've practiced this recipe many different times, but I made it one time and we doubled it. at the time. So I just used a larger cooking vessel and doubled everything. And my 3 teenage boys were happy when I did
Okay.
that.
Awesome.
So it's an easy recipe to definitely double if they feel like they want to do that.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that and hope you guys can join us. So feel free to sign up for that and just let us know if you're interested. If you don't know where to go, just send us a message and we'll direct you to the right location and get you all the right information that you need because we have both a shopping list. Once you send us an email with your receipts or sign up, we're also going to be sending you, Emily made some PDFs on how to make it. So you can look at a recipe list as we're building it through the Zoom call. So
Yeah.
it'll be really nice and you can just follow along with us. And so
And that way you've got the recipe cards when you want to, you can always, once we do it one time, you'll have all the ability to continue to make those recipes. So
yeah, absolutely. It looks delicious and we're just grateful for your time and
thank you.
hope to see you guys all next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, we'll see ya.